Bots. Bot for them.
Botting right now.
In Germany, a bot developer and hacker known only by his online alias, Game, is sitting alone in his room. On his desk lies a notepad. It contains intimate personal details about an employee who works at Riot Games. The contents of this notepad were about to change the trajectory of his life and the entire online gaming ecosystem forever. He typed the information into his computer and uploaded the text file to a website, and then clicked send. Game didn't know it yet, but he had just made a $10 million mistake. Generally, if someone is trying to cheat in an online game, they're doing it so they can win. But there's another side to the coin. Did you know that there's an entire group of people who dedicate their lives to hacking multiplayer games, but you'll never see them? And what's more, they pull in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month by doing it. For years, game developers have been trying to stop this from happening. So how do the hackers keep ending up on top? And why is it that when you take a look behind the curtains, that the entire $1 million botting industry for one of the world's largest games seems to trace back to just one source? We have behind the scenes evidence of how the industry operates, why it refuses to die, and now, for the first time ever, it's time to share it with you. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor. If you're looking for an immersive, vast open world game, then RP Grand is the way to go. You can step into a world where you can buy businesses, drive fancy cars, and become the boss of your own world. But the best part, you can start playing on your smartphone in just a couple of minutes for completely free. The map is huge and the possibilities are endless. Plus, if you use my link in the description, you'll get a free car, and you can also earn your dream car and customize it too. RP Grand is packed with thousands of unique systems, regular updates, and a bustling online community that's ready for you to join. You can create and grow your own family, rake in the cash, and spend it on all the fun stuff. Whether you want to be a bandit, or a policeman, a businessman, or a governor, the choice is yours. So, use the link in the description down below, and don't forget to use the promo code RISESCEW to get some free extra bonuses when you sign up. In order to understand all of this, we need to dive into how these bots actually work, and why they're used in the first place. The levels and capabilities of bots will generally scale up over time, starting with not too damaging, at least comparatively, to some stuff that's really unhealthy for the game. Let's use League of Legends for the first example. Before playing any ranked game mode in League, you first have to hit level 30. This can be done by playing normal, unranked games, or by playing co-op versus AI, where 5 humans are pitted against 5 non-humans. These 5 bots are intentionally put into the game by Riot though, they aren't the more sinister type of bots that we're about to dive into soon. The average time it will take to get your account to level 30 is around 210 games without experience boosts, or roughly 7 games per day for 1 full month. Because of how long this takes, people that are looking for a second account because they want to smurf, or their main account has been banned, or any other number of reasons, will typically just go online and buy from one of the vast array of websites that sell pre-leveled accounts, rather than going through all of that effort themselves. Typically, a fresh level 30 account can be sold for anywhere between $10 to $30 a piece. Now, you'd probably do the maths in your head and say, well, wait, that's not worth it at all, and you'd be completely right. Even at the higher end of that price range, it's not even remotely worth it to play 7 games of League a day for an entire month just to earn $30. Enter bots. Developers, like Game, realized that the process of leveling an account to 30 could be completely automated. Instead of having 1 account done in a month, you could have 10, 100, 1000, and what's more, it was completely autonomous. All you had to do was spend 5 minutes setting up the bot, and within 30 days, you could have 1,000 fresh level 30 accounts ready to be sold for up to $30 each. All of a sudden, something impractical has turned into something very lucrative. Keep in mind these are still the most primitive version of game bots, so let's move on to number 2. The purpose of these bots is to automate actions like farming items or completing quests in games that have an in-game economy, like World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft uses gold as an in-game economy, and it can be traded between players. This system has created an entire industry of gold sellers and gold buyers, and what better way to farm gold than with an army of automated bots? Number 2 bots mostly stick to basic actions. Anything more complex and they begin to struggle, but that's not the case for number 3 bots. Number 3 bots combine the strengths of their predecessors, but with one main addition: they themselves can cheat. Now this is a pretty blunt explanation, but we'll get into more specifics soon. Game realized that this was a goldmine, and no one else had noticed it yet. These bots could pull in hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. But he couldn't work fast enough. He called in 3 of his friends, and together they built their new business called League Sharp. Bot production was flying and the money was pouring in, but they'd run into an issue. Riot Games, the developer of League of Legends, the game that they were botting, had just found out about their operation, and they were not impressed. They began to fight back. In games across the world, developers began finding ways to detect botting.
The first detection that I ever heard about for Blizzard was for World of Warcraft. In the beginning, WoW bots would just move from point A to point B. And you're like, okay, well it moves from point A to point B in a straight line. How do we stop this? And the first attempts to stop this in World of Warcraft in the very early days, you put a rock in the way. And all the bots would get stuck on the rock, and then a GM would literally teleport there, see all the players running in place, and ban them all, manually.
If a player is sitting in base or game, it's pretty clear that it's not a human. Or maybe it's just my ranked team. Accounts that were botted to level 30 began to get banned after they'd already been purchased, and customers began to get angry. Jodas Game and his 3 friends knew that they needed to begin upgrading their code. They were losing money and trust within the cheating community. On top of that, with each day that passed, the game developers were only closing in on them more and more, until one day they received a mysterious email. It was from Riot. Riot told the developers of League Sharp that they planned to file a lawsuit and take their company to court. They were going to be sued and shut down. But they offered an alternative, a way out. Riot said that they were happy to resolve the matter informally before filing the lawsuit. No one had to get in trouble and everyone got to walk away unscathed. But the League Sharp team had other plans. They began digging, trying to find out everything they could about the Riot employee that had emailed them. They refused to respond to the email, and instead, they doxed the employee who had reached out to them. Doxing is the intentional online exposure of an individual's identity, private information, or personal details without their consent. They posted this information publicly online, and then threatened the Riot employee and posted offensive comments on the employee's social media. But their retaliation had only just begun. Knowing that a lawsuit was imminent, they quickly started destroying evidence, deleting online posts and removing any traces that could lead back to them. Additionally, they set up a shell corporation in Peru. A shell corporation is a business created solely to serve as a legal shield rather than to conduct genuine business activities. They typically exist on paper only, with no real operations, employees, or physical presence, and they're mostly used to obscure the true owners' identities or to limit their legal liability. They began to burn anything that could be traced back to them, but ultimately, it wouldn't be enough. After restricting their online presence, business once again began to expand. Bots were originally being detected because they were fairly primitive, but as time went on, they got smarter. Botters expanded into running fully fledged businesses and hiring employees. If you lived in a third world country, you would be able to make significantly more money working as a botter or account seller than you would make working your regular 9 to 5. They started getting a lot more brazen with their methods, attacking official Riot servers with DDoS attacks. It seemed as though they were finally back on top, and stability had been restored to their empire. Until one afternoon, Jodas Game opened his mailbox to find a plain white envelope sitting there. As he sat down inside to open it, he realized that his life was about to change forever. Behind the scenes of a large-scale botting business, there are many different moving parts, but surprisingly, if we take a look at the League of Legends scene in particular, when you dig a little bit deeper, it all traces back to a single source. In order for account selling websites to fill their stores with stock, it has to come from somewhere, because most of these websites are not botting the accounts themselves. It's not as simple as just setting up a bot and raking in millions. The people behind botting these days can only be compared to modern day masterminds.
Like, look, this is all their shit. They're using all these services to, like, bypass Riot's constant changes.
Wait, there's a public GitHub.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're dumb. They think no one's gonna look.
Okay, so maybe not. Let me explain. When someone wants to buy a fresh account, they'll head to Google and usually search for buy account and then the game name. They'll click on one of the first websites that comes up and then go ahead and complete their transaction. But there is a catch. They don't know this, but these accounts are often resold at a markup, with prices inflated anywhere from 100% to 400%. It's honestly kind of similar to dropshipping, where a seller will find an item on a wholesale website like Alibaba that's insanely cheap, and then list the item themselves for a much higher price. So that begs the question, where are they coming from and how are they so cheap? After speaking to an anonymous source who works within the botting community, things became a little bit clearer. It all traces back to one mysterious company. Their website is almost impossible to locate unless you're in the know, and they run one of the only bots that still exists after the introduction of kernel-level anti-cheats. The only way to get around these anti-cheats is by using hardware bypasses alongside AI to make the bot look as legitimate as possible. This bypass that they've created has allowed them to amass a truly ridiculous amount of botted accounts.
We look at the 70k, there's only 12k bulk available, but then guess what? 141,000 skinned accounts.
According to a list that the source sent over, this one source supplies about 90% of all account selling shops in League of Legends. You would think that with this sort of chokehold on the botting market, they'd play their cards kind of close to their chest and try their best to not reveal any secrets. But it turns out that while they're smart, they're also a little bit careless.
They made it all publicly available, so like this is the AI that's trained. There's this amazing funny page, it sends a message to all the developers. Yeah, it sends to their mobile phone. No one can find them. No one knows about them. They keep everything as quiet as possible. Yeah, this is their research to find out what CPUs work. It's so advanced. Like, they have everything saved for everything, and like, this is how they're bypassing detection. So they're very smart, they're just very dumb in other ways. They made it public, but like, they figured out this amazing like capacity of like how to avoid detection and like what specific devices they need.
They also have a portal where you can buy accounts in bulk to save on prices. However, this isn't the method that a lot of account selling websites use. Instead, they'll use an API, short for Application Programming Interface. Imagine an API as sort of like a bridge. The store's front end, or what the customer sees, is on one end of the bridge. The store doesn't want to hold any stock themselves in case for whatever reason they find themselves being unable to sell it all. Instead, whenever a customer makes a purchase on the front end, the API automatically forwards this request to the back end, or to the other side of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge is the warehouse, the one that holds all of the botted accounts. The front end then purchases the necessary amount of accounts at a fraction of the cost. They already have the money from the customer at this point, so it isn't a problem for them. This all happens so quickly that the customer won't notice anything out of the ordinary is happening. Because of how this operates, if a new account selling website wanted to start up a business with $0 capital, they could. It really is relatively risk-free. March 2017. As Jodas Game read the letter, a harsh reality set in. Riot had filed a lawsuit against his company. The case's claims against League Sharp included that they had repeatedly engaged in attacks on Riot's servers, advised customers to dispute their in-game transactions, doxed and threatened a Riot employee, destroyed and concealed evidence, and additionally taught players how to cheat without being caught. Because, on top of being a botting service, they also offered scripts or just regular cheats for League players. The case would settle quickly, and League Sharp were ordered to pay Riot Games a sum of $10 million. Additionally, Riot would gain control over the League Sharp website, jodaska.me. They took it upon themselves to display a message on the homepage apologizing for any damage caused by their actions. League Sharp were finished. However, the ideas and potential financial gain within the botting industry were now clearer than ever. League Sharp alone were worth more than $10 million, and this was in 2017, and it was only for one game. Older games like Team Fortress 2 have been completely overrun by the more advanced bots that can cheat themselves. As technology moves forward, it can only make you question what the future will hold.